Hi, everyone. Today we have Megan on the channel.
Hi, everybody.
It's so great to have you here, Megan. So while you're here, why don't you tell my viewers who you are and where to find you?
Sure. My name is Megan Benjamin, and I'm a singer, actress, dancer, and burlesque performer. You can find me on Instagram at Megan_Benjamin5394, just for pretty much everyday things. And my burlesque Instagram is Daisy_Delicacy.
Thanks so much. Now, my viewers, go out and check out Megan. All right, now that we're acquainted, let's get into the interview. So we're going to continue on with our inspirational stories. So Megan, let's start at the very, very beginning. Tell me about your childhood. Were you a fat kid?
I wasn't necessarily a fat kid, but I do remember weighing more than a lot of my friends. Something that you said in one of your videos was when you were talking to your friend about how you weighed this weight, and then your friend mentioned that they weighed a lower weight. And you kind of had a moment of, wait, why is that? Oh my God. I distinctly remember in grade school, we were all on the playground and I was talking with my friends about weight, and I do not know how it came up, but my friends were mentioning, yeah, I weigh this weight and I weigh that weight. And I realized, oh my God, I'm like 10 pounds heavier than everybody. That's a bad thing. Oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Oh no, what am I going to do? And that was just a lot. And that made me start thinking, like, well, what do I need to do to lose weight? Oh my God, am I fat? Oh my God, what do I do? And I would do kind of silly things like I would try to make myself throw up just to see if like that would affect my weight at all. I would try to just eat very minimally when I was a kid. I grew up dancing too, so that was a big thing. No one ever mentioned that my weight was necessarily bad in dance class, but I did see there were a lot of girls who were very svelte and lean, and that was not me, being short and very stocky and muscular. So that definitely impacted my view on my body and me wondering, oh my God, am I overweight? That kind of thing.
What age were you during this time?
About 11 years old around that time. And I do remember as I got older and I was doing more theater productions because I grew up doing musical theater. One of the things that people always commented on were my legs. My legs have always been very, very muscular, but a lot of people perceive that as them being big and to some cases fat. I remember I was doing a production and I was getting fitted for a costume. I was wearing a pair of shorts and they didn't exactly fit me right. And at 13, the costumer looks at me and says, "Oh, well, they don't fit you right because you have big legs." And then she realized, "Oh crap. No, I mean dancer legs." And I was like, that made me feel awful. I was 13 years old. Like, you don't say that to a 13-year-old. Yeah.
So no adults at this time said anything to you about your weight or if you were overweight. Like actually, let's wind this back. Were you actually overweight or were you just bigger than everyone else that were dancers? Like I was bigger than all the other figure skaters, but I
Yeah.
wasn't overweight.
Yeah, I think it was more of that. I wasn't necessarily overweight, but because I am shorter and I build muscle more, that looked to me like I
Mhm.
was bigger and fatter and all that, even though I wasn't. And adults never really said, oh, she's big, she's overweight, whatever. But I kind of got little subtle messages, like the story I told you about the costume fitting. That's my body was not as svelte or as good, so to speak, as other people that were more naturally thin.
Right. Now, one of the things that I wish I knew then, and now I kind of wish I could go and tell little you then, uh, what I've learned about body types
Hmm.
and I don't want to extend this over into like obesity because it's very hard to tell your actual body type when you're that much overweight. But I'm talking about people in the healthy BMI. There are certain body types that hide fat better than others. Like
Hmm.
the girls that I was always jealous of were the ones that had like a really big rib cage and a longer waist. They could, I know that they weren't hourglassy, but they could actually have way more fat in their middle and you couldn't tell. Whereas
Yeah.
girls
Sure.
like us, we are gonna hold it in our legs. Like that's not where our fat deposits are. The thing is, it's like the more muscle you have, you also get more fat to support it. So if you have
Yeah.
big, strong legs, you have
Mhm.
big muscular legs, you also get a layer of fat over them. And it sucks. I know, but that you have strong legs. Those
Yeah.
other girls with the thinner legs don't have as strong of legs as you, but they have that fat that's like hidden and you can't see it. So I bet you weren't any fatter. than the others. And
Mhm.
now when I look back in time, I wasn't fatter. I thought I
Yeah.
was. I was stronger. I was stronger with a different body type. Now when I look back at some of those others, because girls like us were so focused on the legs, we weren't looking at anything else. And now when I look back and I see pictures of the skaters that I did skate with, so many of them were middle fat carriers, so many of them, but it was flat. You know what I mean? But it's jiggly, but
Yeah.
it's flat, but they had skinny legs. You and I probably
Yeah.
had no jiggle in the middle, but we had legs. We had legs. And that was a thing. Anyways,
Yeah.
I know this is your interview, not mine, but I just really,
No, yeah,
really,
I totally get
really
it.
relate to the legs. Really, really do.
Yeah, and just because you're on the shorter side too, right?
5'4".
Yeah, I'm 5 feet,
Mhm.
and I didn't really get to that when you're shorter and more muscular, that's gonna look different than someone who is taller than you. And I always remember wishing, I wish I could be taller because then my legs would look more svelte and long and have that long dancer body that I always wanted. And I could still be strong and everything, but I'm like, but I'm just so compressed and short. I wish I could be taller and thinner, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's some things you just can't deal with. And when you're short the way that you are, I bet you that your rib cage is right on top of your hip bones. And if
Yep.
your rib cage is right on top of your hip bones, you can't make a waist. Okay.
Nope.
Like when you can't, you need to have a longer torso so that it can go in. When we don't talk about bone structure enough, I'm going to make a video about this, but you think
Yeah.
about people like Britney Spears, for example, skinny as hell. Does she have a waist? She's not
Mm-mm.
hourglassy. Why? She's petite. Her ribs are on top of her hips. Not
Mhm.
everybody can get snatched. Not it's not possible for everyone. And I think Brittany is a good example because no one would ever say that girl is fat, but she is also not hourglass. She is
No.
because of her bone structure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so um I digress. Let's get back into your story. While you were dancing and you were thinking that you were the bigger kid, did anybody support this? Did you ever say, Mom, I'm so big and everyone else is so small? Did you ever complain to anyone or did you just internalize it?
I did complain to my mom a lot about it, and bless my mom, she's wonderful and incredibly supportive, but I don't think she completely understood the aesthetic pressure that comes with doing a performing art or doing a sport either, especially something like ice skating like you or dancing like me, because there is so much of that pressure to look a certain way, to carry yourself a certain way, to just be a certain way. And so when I would tell her like my legs are so big, I'm never going to be like the ballerina that I want to be, she would just brush it off and be like, "Well, just be grateful that you have legs to dance on and everything." And I wish you could just see how lucky you are to have the nice strong legs, which of course is nice to hear. And I'm very glad that my mom was supportive in her own way. But I think just because she wasn't in that world, there was a little bit of disconnect. So it was difficult to completely get the support and sympathy that I wanted.
Yeah. Our parents, unfortunately for our parents, Brene Brown did not exist back then, or she was a baby. Because I just think of her video about silver lining and how it's not helpful. Like when
Mhm.
you're feeling bad, don't silver line someone's cloud. Hear them out. Let
Yes.
them like, but the thing is, our parents didn't know any better. We can't fault, they
Mhm.
didn't know, but now it's like
Yeah.
after learning about that, it's like that is the way to handle. Someone has a problem, you hear them out, you make them feel heard first, and you don't silver line their cloud because that just makes them feel like shit.
Yes, absolutely.
But I do feel for her because that was the way, right? That was
Yeah, for
what we
sure.
were supposed to do. That's what we were told
Mhm.
to do. So, how long did you secretly try to monitor your weight? Did it carry through your teens?
Yeah, definitely. I remember times in my teenage years when I would try to eat very, very minimally. There was a time I remember where I basically ate nothing for 4 days in a row just to see like, is that going to affect my weight? Am I going to get smaller? Everything. And all it did is make me feel dizzy and like crap. And I remember my mom understood a little bit more when I told her like what was going on, how I was feeling. And I think it was because, she's a woman. She totally gets that pressure of having to look a certain way. My dad at the time was a bit more militant and more like, well, you need to sit down and eat and you need to stop doing this to yourself because you're really going to hurt yourself. And I know it was coming from a place of concern and love, but it's a bit different for my dad because he was always very strong and muscly and had more of the I guess straight line, A line
Mhm.
silhouette like most men do. And he
V
had
is ideal for men, but
yeah, and
straight is okay.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really, I guess, struggle with his weight in the same ways that my mom and I did, or at least not from the aesthetic perspective. So he was more militant. My mom, was sympathetic and understanding, and she actually did help me a lot with that. She said, like, you shouldn't have to worry about your weight so much. You're still really young. You're still growing. And so that kind of stopped. But it was a very much like on and off of, do I eat healthier? Do I eat less calories? What do I do? And of course, you get so much conflicting information, anyways, but especially at that age, you just don't have a clue of how to eat healthy or how to eat balanced meals or how to, not eat tons and tons of snacks before you go to a dance class. And yeah, that
So
was
were
tricky.
you able to impact like the food environment in your house? Were you able to get your parents to buy certain things that you wanted? Like, and how
Yeah,
did you do that?
well, the thing is, when I was 14, I became a vegetarian because little precocious me is like, I don't like what they're doing to animals in the factories and in the circuses. I don't want that to happen. And I'm still a vegetarian now. I learned a lot more about eating healthy as a vegetarian and all of that, and learning how to just not eat carbs all day long, because that was my big fault when I was a kid of, I'm not going to eat meat anymore. So I'll just eat lots of pasta and we'll be fine. Nope. But through that, my parents had to start buying things like veggie burgers, and they had to start expanding their culinary palettes like I did. I started eating more Indian food because that's a very vegetarian friendly cuisine. And I started trying more foods, different vegetables, different fruits, different ways of cooking things. I learned how to cook tofu at that age, which was great. So I guess we did start to eat a little bit healthier with that. But the big pitfall with my family, we are such big snackers. That is just how we are. We always will have tons of snacks when we get together, tons of chips, goldfish. Goldfish is my kryptonite. Love goldfish crackers. Um, and just like peanuts, pretzels, all of that. And we are a family for sure that will just eat straight out of the bag. We won't just get the actual portions, and we'll think like, it's low calorie, whatever. We'll just eat this, it's fine. And we'll mindlessly eat in front of the TV. I do this all the time, and you don't realize how much you're eating when you do that, of course.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
snacking, it can be kryptonite.
Yes.
I have two strategies for snacking. The first one is to not do it by keeping my hands busy.
Mm,
So like I can knit while I'm watching
hmm.
TV instead of
Yeah.
shoveling something in my face, keeping the
Hmm.
hands busy so I can't eat. And then of course I've always been like seeking out forever the lowest calorie snacks and how I can use calorie other foods to I don't know, extend the high calorie foods. Like, so for example, I want peanut butter, but peanut butter is high in
Hmm.
calories. So I'll take
Yes.
1 tablespoon and I'll melt it. I'll melt
Mm.
it because then I get like all of it and I can cover my apples in melted peanut butter,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
and I can like, but if I'm going to end up using way more if I don't melt it
Hmm.
because it's hard to spread and stuff. So it's like I do things like that. Or I have a hard time eating just one handful of nuts.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not
me too.
food, but if I have multiple, it's too many calories. So what I'll do is I'll take something super low calorie like rice checks, like cereal, like low calorie cereals like corn pops or checks, the ones that are only about 110 calories for a whole cup. I'll take like half a cup of that and then I'll take a handful of nuts, mix it together. So then it's like a snack mix, but it's not all nuts, right?
Yeah.
It, so then the nuts themselves are only about 100 calories and I probably only grabbed about 50 calories of cereal. So it's 150 calories, but it looks big.
Mm.
It looks
Yeah.
bigger than if I just get 150 calories of nuts, it's super tiny. So
Mhm.
like I don't know. I've
Yeah.
always been playing the volume meters game of like what's the lowest calorie thing that I can add to something else to puff it up. Popcorn's a
Mhm.
great one. You can,
Yeah, I love popcorn.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's like you don't wanna give it up by any means, but you do wanna be mindful about it for sure.
yeah.
Because I found, like, the times when I tell myself, "You can't have this, it's too high calorie," that's when I end up eating a lot more of it, and then I feel worse about myself.
Yeah.
Finding ways to kind of eat it, but make it healthier and more balanced, I think is very, very helpful.
Hmm. So this is an interesting discussion though. Like modify the food. So there's three schools of thought on this, and I don't know which is the best. Some people
Mhm.
say take your food, make a lower calorie version of it. Some people say eat the real food, but just eat it in a smaller quantity. And some people say just cut it out. Don't touch it. You don't
Mm,
eat that anymore.
yeah. I found just cutting something out generally doesn't work too well for me. Sometimes it has worked, but I think I go back and forth between the first two the most. I
Mhm.
like the idea of making it lower calorie just because it's fun to be creative and find new solutions to things. And I also like the idea of making it a smaller portion or making it just smaller in general because let's be real here, in America, we eat ginormous portions of everything. So being more aware of what exactly is a portion, what exactly is a serving is very helpful for me because then at least I have an idea of how much I'm eating and it's like it's not necessarily bad to eat that, but it's good to be mindful. This is what it is. You can still have it, just,
Yeah.
keep it on the smaller side.
Right. I find it helpful that on the daily, like I posted one of my other videos, my nightly dessert. I love my nightly dessert. It
Yeah.
is a modification of a strawberry sundae. It's real
Mhm.
strawberries zapped in the microwave until they turn into a sauce with a bit of
Mhm.
stevia mixed in. It's a like natural strawberry sauce, and then I use Cool Whip instead of ice cream. And then
Yeah.
I love that. That is my dessert. It tastes like a strawberry shortcake sundae, like from Dairy Queen. Seriously, look, I can make it look just like the strawberry shortcake from Dairy Queen, and I'm using little bits of cereal instead of cake or whatever. But
Yeah.
and it tastes good. However, if I go out for dinner and there's a really really nice dessert on the menu, I'll say to my husband, "Let's split it." So I can
Yeah.
taste it. So I want to try the real thing, but I'm not going to eat the whole thing. So
Mhm.
those
That Oh,
the,
go ahead. Sorry. That's something my husband and I do too, is if we want to have dessert, we usually will split it. There's a place in New York City, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called Chip City, which makes the most amazing cookies, but they're very, very dense. They're like this big, and they're usually really calorie filled flavors. Like they have a s'mores cookie, they have a glazed pear cookie, and they're delicious, but they are a lot of a lot. But splitting them together, I find you get the taste of it, you get the flavors, you get all of that good stuff, but then your stomach doesn't hurt because you've eaten like a 600 calorie cookie. So,
right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm all about the sharing stuff. I also think that a good strategy is crowd out, don't cut out. So if you eat all of the things you're supposed to eat first, by the time you get to
Mm,
that your treat, you won't be able to eat as much of it. So
yes.
it's like if I'm looking at that cookie and like, well, I have to eat so much protein and so much vegetables before I'm allowed to touch that cookie. By the time I get through that, I'm not going to be able to eat the whole thing.
Hmm.
Or even if I am able, I will be satisfied with less because I'm already full of other things.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
okay, let's get back to your weight journey. So we are in high school now. Are you maintaining and I know you're going through all of these weight issues, but how is your actual weight? Is your weight like you're still average, maybe a little bit bigger than the other dancers, but not overweight, or are you starting to actually have problems with the real weight yet?
I would say it was still pretty average, all things considered, because I was dancing like crazy as a kid. I grew up doing dance classes, singing classes, acting classes, all that community theater stuff because I do want to be a theater actress one day. That's the goal. And at the time, I remember I was taking like 8 dance classes a week, all different styles, ballet, tap, jazz, musical theater, and doing my performing through high school musicals, through community theater, so I was still dancing there. And I also rode horses. I was a very active kid. Even though my diet wasn't very good with all the snacking, with all of the extra calories, I feel like because you're young, you're active, you burn it off, so you don't really notice if there's any significant weight gain. Looking back, I don't really know how I was able to eat all the stuff that I did because I remember I would eat like ice cream sundaes before dance class and be totally fine. My weight wouldn't be different, my energy levels wouldn't be different. Now I'm like, how the hell did you do that? But yeah, I wasn't necessarily overweight or bigger than anyone else. I did feel like I was, especially being shorter and feeling like I don't know if this has ever happened to you being a shorter woman, but when you're shorter and when you are a little bit, I guess, overweight, so to speak, people don't necessarily treat you like a woman. They treat you like a girl, and you feel very insecure about that. So I kept thinking if I was just taller and thinner, I'd be more womanly and people would look at me different. And I would feel more confident in myself, and I was dealing with that a lot growing up, and it was difficult for sure.
So when you finished, let's fast forward to finishing high school. What do you did you continue on dancing? The reason I'm picking the end of high school is because like for me and for a lot of people, that's when activity changes completely. Like your substitute figure skating for dance, that was my life. What you just said, I'm like, yep, yep, yep,
Yes.
yep, yep, yep. You did the exact same thing. I was on the ice, you were in the studio. So I
Mhm.
get it. So then life changes dramatically when you quit. What happened then?
So I majored in voice performance when I went to college, and which is more classical singing and all of that. And the weird thing about my degree program was that unless you were a musical theater major or a dance major, you couldn't really take the more advanced dance classes through the college programs. There were dance classes locally, which I did go to every now and then, and there were very, very basic classes you could take as part of the degree program. And I'm like, I already know how to plie, I already know how to do a tendu. I want something harder. So I didn't really dance as much. I did go to the fitness centers a lot at our school because I went to Ithaca College. They have a fantastic fitness center. It's ginormous. There's like a basketball court in there. They have every kind of machine you could imagine. I don't know if it's changed since then because it's been a while, but it was amazing when I went there. So I would go there a lot. Primarily, funnily enough, just to watch TV because they had TVs in the treadmill. And then that turned into running on the treadmill, doing workouts that way. But I wasn't dancing as much for sure. I wasn't taking regular classes. I wasn't working on my technique. So that definitely impacted my body. And of course, when you're at college, you eat in dining halls more often. You don't cook for yourself as often. You think, wow, there's all this free food. I can have like pizza every single day and bagels and ice cream. And it doesn't hit completely that that's gonna affect everything. Because 'cause you're also
Mhm.
young too. I was like 18 to 22. You don't think about that stuff. And even if you do, it just doesn't completely register at that
So what
moment.
was your freshman weight gain?
Ooh, that's difficult. I don't remember how much weight I gained. I know I definitely looked like I gained weight during that time. I remember there was times when I would eat pizza almost every single day in the dining hall for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I ate so many bagels too. That's another kryptonite food for me. And I remember, I think the bigger thing, even aside from the weight, was like, wait, why can't I jump as high as anymore? Why can't I turn as much? Why am I not as flexible? What is going on here? So I noticed it more in that way, but I do know I gained weight, just can't remember how much it was.
I think mine was 15 to 20. I put a picture of my side by side and like I look at that at like this was high school graduation, this was after first year and you can see it. I'm like, that
Mhm.
was cutting out skating, right? Like I quit skating and I'm not on
Mhm.
campus and I'm eating whatever the hell I want because I can.
Mhm.
The thing is, like, I didn't live on campus. I lived still at home. I stayed at home when I went to university, but that didn't save me from university food. I thought it would. It didn't
Mhm.
because what happens is I'm at campus at 8 o'clock and I'm there until 8 p.m., 8 a.m. to 8. Where am I going to eat? I'm going to eat on
Mhm.
campus. So even though
Exactly.
I lived at home and I could have home cooked meals, I couldn't have them all the time because university life was different than high school. I in my head, I thought, oh, university, it would follow like the same hours. Does it? Have a class at 9 o'clock at night. Like all of that was all shocking to me because I thought
Mhm.
I would like go to university school and come home and eat. And like, no, I
Mhm.
actually have to live there all day because I got a class at 8, I got a class at noon, and I got a class at 7 p.m. Like when I get in your schedule, I'm like, I have classes that start at 7 p.m. What the hell?
Yeah. And I think it's also hard too when you're living on campus. I did grow up cooking with my family a lot, and I could have had that option at school, but the kitchens in the dorms are like this big. You don't have enough room to do anything. There's no good way to store ingredients. There's no good way to store leftovers. So it's like, why even bother cooking? The only time I really did cook more was when I moved to an on-campus apartment junior and senior years when I do have a fuller kitchen. I do have ways to store my own food. But when I was living in dorms, it was like, nope, you can't really do that. So the only things you really could store in your mini fridges were snack foods, ice cream, that kind of stuff. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to cook healthy meals. So you eat in the dining hall, and while there are healthy options, it's few and far between.
So after first year, so you lived on campus for your first 2 years?
I
for
lived
some
on
time?
campus all of my time at college, but I lived in dorms the first 2 years and then an on-campus apartment junior year and senior year.
Okay, so on your second year living in dorms, did you
Mhm.
change anything or did you just go, oh, I've gained weight, I might as well keep on gaining weight, or did you not notice quite yet? Like what happened in
I
the second
didn't
year?
Yeah, I didn't really notice quite yet, any weight gain, anything different. I think honestly though, during that year, it's interesting because that was when I joined the sorority that I was part of. It's called fraternity, but it was all female sorority, whatever. And we would do a lot of events where we would serve like pancakes to people. We would serve fondue to people, and of course, you eat a lot of that because you're preparing it and stuff. And it just didn't really click. Like you're still not eating all that healthy. You're still snacking a whole lot. I do remember, it was kind of between sophomore year and junior year when I started to notice some weight gain, and it was during Halloween because I would dress up that my words are hard. Sophomore year, I was Flo the Progressive Girl for Halloween. I remember wearing jeans that were like a pretty low size, but then the next year I was a newsie, like from the musical Newsies, and I remember, wait, those jeans don't fit me. Now I'm wearing these bigger pants that I got from a thrift store. That doesn't make sense. But I rationalized thinking, well, every designer's different. Everyone cuts their clothes different, which is true,
Mhm.
very true. But it didn't really register in my mind like maybe you're also gaining weight as well. So,
Every designer does make things differently, but what about the those fit you last
yeah,
year? That
exactly.
that connect of they did fit you, your body
Mhm.
before.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it was little things like that, things starting to fit differently, things just not completely looking the same way that they did. And it just starting to register like, wait, why is this not working out? Why am I not feeling the same in clothes? And noticing um just more my figure looked more filled out. It was still wasn't overweight, but I'm like, this doesn't look like how I normally look. What's going on here? So yeah, that was tricky.
And when did we start to take action?
It's interesting because junior year, being a voice major, there we always would do as part of your degree program, you have to do a recital towards the end of the year where you just go out and sing a bunch of classical repertoire for people and you get graded on that. It's a whole thing. But I remember it's a very formal event. So I was thinking, I need to look good for my recital. I need to look good in this formal dress. So that's when I started doing more structured workouts, doing things like Pilates more often. Being a dancer, they always recommend doing Pilates, which I think is great. And I would also start doing more workouts at the gym with weights, doing things with dumbbells, running more on the treadmill, trying to challenge myself and doing things like I ran a mile today. Okay, so now can I run a mile and a half? And even though I didn't necessarily do it in the most methodical, pragmatic, healthy way, I really did like seeing the progress and I did like having more of a scheduled workout routine. I liked seeing, oh, my body's changing. I'm getting stronger. I'm feeling more endurance. I'm feeling like I'm getting more fit. And I remember trying on my recital dress and thinking, my back is so much flatter. Like, it's stronger. I don't have as many rolls. This looks great. Because I did so much arm and back Pilates workouts. And I remember thinking, I really like this. I like having a routine. I like working out. This is awesome. Woohoo! And feeling good about myself then. So that's, I guess, where I started to take more regimented action.
So what I'm fascinated by is that you actually managed to change your body with just exercise.
I
Like
think
it's
so, yeah.
80/20 food and exercise. So like I am just in awe that the exercise, because I know so many people that think that they can just throw themselves in the gym, but they don't change their food. So then
Mhm.
it's 80/20. But you must have somehow changed your food during this process without trying.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think during that year what I did differently. And I think it was more of I was still snacking, but I wasn't snacking as much. I still was not eating good food or anything, but I think the portion sizes really went down because living on an on-campus apartment made me further away from the dining halls. It
Mm.
also forced me more to think about like, okay, now that you're on an on-campus apartment, you have more access to the buses, you can buy your own food more. And with that, with the snacking too, that I think it was just the volume of what I was eating. It went down a lot. And I think that's looking back, what changed more in terms of also doing the workouts as well. And honestly, I'm not even sure if I lost weight. I do think I got more toned.
Mhm.
So I think that's possible. But in terms of actual weight loss, because I actually didn't have a scale and I couldn't tell you what my weight was at the time. But yeah, I think that's more of what happened.
I think that for snackers, especially people that gain weight because of snacking, not because their meals themselves are bad, um, probably benefit from being super busy because what you're doing is
Yes.
eliminating opportunities to snack. I'm not talking about it's more about the chips you didn't consume
Mhm.
versus the calories you burned at the gym. You know
Yes,
what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Yeah, because I was super busy being a voice major. You have to do so much for a degree program like that. You take so many music theory classes and sight singing classes. You have performances with the vocal ensemble you're in. I was also doing the main stage opera that year. Like I was had a packed schedule. I was so busy. And I think also from the stress and the adrenaline of that, just not really thinking about eating too much, that definitely played a part of it. But I didn't really connect the dots at the time. I just thought like, well, I'm doing something and it's working, so let's do that.
one of the things that I still very much struggle with, but I know helps others is finding non-food goals or not, sorry, finding non-food rewards. So like when
Yes.
you're proud of yourself, it shouldn't be, yay, ice cream. Like,
Mhm.
something else. It's just
Mhm.
to not treat food like a reward.
Yeah,
One of the
for
cutest
sure.
things with my cat is he loves springs. And we have springs in the same drawer as his treats, like his food treats, his temptations or whatever. But the spring is a treat for him. He gets so excited. And I love it. I love it. I would open the treat drawer and instead of giving him a food treat, I give him a little spring and he goes crazy and he loves it and he plays with it and it's adorable. I keep thinking, I need a spring. Okay. I need the equivalent of a spring because my cat
Yes.
has that. You open
Mhm.
up the treat drawer, you give him a spring. He's not upset you didn't give him food because he loves the spring. What is my spring? If I,
Mhm.
instead of ice cream or something like that's my goal. Watching my cat play with the spring, I'm like, I need a spring.
Yeah. I think my spring because I love to crochet, is like different yarn skeins, different crochet hooks, new books to with crochet patterns. I remember thinking like too when you were talking about diamond painting in another video, I'm like, that's exactly how I feel. Just that, ooh, there's so much to explore. There's so much of this like crafting world. I want to do it as much as possible. So that's my spring. I also do bullet journaling too, so different colored pens and pencils, different washi tape, all of that. I think that is definitely like my non-food reward once I hit a new exercise goal is like going to Michael's and buying
Yeah.
just a crap ton of craft supplies.
Yeah. I will say I do have crafting is huge for me. At the end of
Mm,
this call, I'll show you the room. I'm not moving the
yeah.
camera right now,
Mhm.
but you'll be surprised. This is
Mhm.
small. The rest of the room
Mhm.
yeah, I love crafting as well, but it is a bit of a challenge for me to sometimes think of my brain doesn't automatically go there sometimes. Sometimes it's cake.
Mhm. Yep.
Sometimes it's ice cream, sometimes when we are talking about foods to be cut out, I think I've said this before. Maynard's products are banned from my house right now.
Mm.
Certain things I can limit, certain things they gotta go. Maybe down the line, maybe somewhere in the future, I can handle having Maynard's products in my house. But the Fuzzy Peaches, Sour Patch Kids, Cherry Blasters, I will
Mm.
eat the whole family size bag in one sitting. And there are
Yeah.
thousands of calories in that.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're not allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's now fast forward to the end of college.
Mhm.
Where are you with your relationship with food and exercise now?
I think one thing that was a really positive thing towards the end of college was I started doing yoga more often, and that became kind of my go-to exercise. I love Yoga with Adriene on YouTube. She's my favorite. And I also have found other yoga instructors on YouTube that I love, but I would do that more consistently. And that was kind of like my workout of choice. And I was slowly starting to get back into dance classes with moving to New York City, taking dropping classes, more jazz classes, more ballet classes, which was great. And I think the exercising was getting back to a more don't want to say regimented, that's not the right word, but kind of more like when I was younger, doing the dance classes, pursuing more of that strict dance schedule. It was getting more
You're on a
dramatic.
routine.
Yeah, for sure. Routine, that's the right word. Um, and the food was getting trickier because I was cooking for myself more, living in apartments, doing sublets and all of that, but I still hadn't really cracked the whole like portion size thing and cooking actual healthy meals because of course, I know pasta with veggies can be pretty healthy, but I would make giant portions of that. I wouldn't necessarily make a portion for me. And I also was not very good with my extras like extra butter, extra olive oil, that kind of stuff. So it was on the right track, but it still wasn't quite there yet. And of course, snacking was still a big thing. Like I could eat an entire bag of Tostitos chips in one sitting. No big deal. I could probably still do that. I haven't done it in a while, but could probably do it if you put it in front of me. And one thing that was actually kind of significant during that time too was I was taking an acting class with a pretty well-known um, acting teacher, actress, and all of that. And I remember doing a scene in our class one day with my boyfriend, now husband, and we were getting critiqued on it and everything. She's giving him very technical critiques and all that. And then she looks at me. She gets a very serious look on her face and she says, "Okay, I'm going to be really real with you right now." And I'm thinking, oh shit, she thinks I'm a terrible actress. She thinks like I can't do this profession. But she looks at me and she says to me, "I really want you to lose 50 pounds." And I sit there thinking like, what? And I said, "Well, why?" And she said, "Well, I would hate for anything to affect your career." Now, at the time, I weighed about 135 pounds. I don't really know why she said that to me. So if I had lost the 50 pounds she wanted me to, I'd have been grossly underweight. And I don't think she should have said anything else to anybody in the class. I'm going to preface it by saying it. But in the class, there were women that were bigger than me. There were women that were smaller than me. There were men that were bigger, men that were smaller. They were all different body types. So it really confused me. Why are you targeting me specifically? Why are you telling me to lose weight when I'm not overweight? I mean, I'm stockier still. I still have the bigger thighs, bigger legs, and everything, but I'm definitely not like super duper overweight. What is going on here? And I felt so humiliated. And that started the whole cycle of eating very little, eating very low calorie foods for a while.
How old were you?
Eventually, I was 23 when that
Oh,
happened.
quite young still.
Yeah, and it was devastating, and for a while going to auditions after that, feeling like they're rejecting me because they think I'm too big, they think that I can't do this, this is not the right profession for me, what am I gonna do? And just feeling devastated at that time because of her comment. She's a very famous actor, acting teacher. There must be some truth to it, so
So I'm going to ask something really ignorant because I'm curious, but
Mhm.
again, I don't know anything about the theater. I'm sorry if this is offensive.
That's okay.
Are there roles? Like, do they type you like fat roles, middle roles, skinny roles? Like, hey, or did she think, look, if you lost weight, then you could be the heroine and not the babysitter?
Yes and no. There's kind of this idea that if you're overweight in the theater world, you play older roles like mothers, and you play like if you're younger, you would play like the old lady roles kind of things. And if you're young and thinner, you play the more like ingenue type roles. And also, there are certain roles that are written for people to be bigger. Tracy in Hairspray is a good example of that because the whole show revolves around her weight and her
Mhm.
body image and all of that. But I think nowadays it's starting to shift more like you don't necessarily have to be a certain weight to play a certain role, but there is still kind of that unspoken idea of if you're this body type, you play this kind of role. If you're this body type, you play that kind of role. It,
I'm not saying that what your teacher did was right, but do you
mhm.
think that that was done because she had faith in you, like a thought, like if like this is heroin, this is lead material, and she's going to end up being cast in these minor roles.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it was some kind of twisted way of her doing that. Looking back on it, as devastating as that was, and of course she shouldn't have done that, but I do think in a weird twisted way that was some bizarre way of her telling me, "I believe in you, so I'm going to push you really hard to do something that's really extreme and drastic." And I also wonder if her whole mentality was, let's break her and then build her back up, because she was very much like that as well. So,
Mhm. Old school mentality. I completely empathize. Like,
mm,
I find it so interesting whenever I talk to like people that were in dance or gymnastics, because like your stories are my stories. Your
yes,
stories are my stories. Like when you're
yes.
talking about that, I'm thinking about my coach that was doing fat faces to me, right?
Hmm.
Like, I know what this is like. I know
Hmm.
what this is like. It's the same thing. It's just a slightly different world. And I also believe that girls like us had it harder than being even heavier just in the general public.
Hmm.
Because in that field of being scrutinized, it's different. It's different.
Yes, absolutely.
So after these comments, did you ever go on the internet and seek out magic pills, potions, get snatched quick? Like, did you do any of that?
I didn't do any of that, but I did look into a lot of exercise programs online, like all those get those slim thighs and get those super toned arms, and try to do that, because in my mind it was always like, if you exercise enough, you're going to lose the weight, you're going to get these snatched bodies, like everything. It didn't really register that it's more about the food. It totally didn't register growing up being very athletic and living with people who also are very athletic but don't necessarily have the best diets. So and I did that, and I remember also looking up like, what would liposuction be like, and how do you reduce cellulite, and trying all these things. I remember there was a beauty influencer who did like a at-home cellulite cure where you would mix olive oil and coffee grounds to get rid of it, and I did that, and all it got me was a very clogged shower drain. So yeah. Yeah.
I would not ever recommend pouring olive oil and coffee granules down your
Yeah, just it was meant to be more like a lotion and stuff, but yeah, it didn't work.
butt. Okay, so when talk a lot about exercise, and I found it really fascinating
Mhm.
that calories, macros, none of the main things that actually help you with weight loss, you weren't touching. You were doing it the hard way.
Yeah.
When did you learn about calories?
When did I learn about? That's a good question. Honestly, I feel like that was actually pretty recent, all things considered. Back maybe about 2, 3 years ago, I really decided, okay, I know I'm snacking too much. I know that I don't really have a good regimented food plan. Let's actually start looking at the calories on food labels. Let's figure out what an actual portion is, and let's see, how do you feel just eating that. Don't be so concerned about weight. See if that affects you. See if you can understand that more. And the more I understood that, the more I was like, this starts to make sense. Oh, I'm actually eating a lot more than I thought I was. Oh, okay, it has not as many calories in it. This does. This isn't as nutritionally dense. This is. And the more I learned about that, and the more I started realizing, oh, if I can cook for myself more, if I can cook more healthy meals in smaller portions, that all kind of came together through that. And that I think it was more when I was living on my own and stuff. It got more strict in like the past 2, 3 years, but I started, I guess, learning that when I had my first apartment, which was in 2019.
Okay, so I'm just trying to bridge, like,
Yeah,
so I'm trying to do
I
the
know it
timeline.
was.
Okay, so we finish university. We're in a place where we're using exercise to
Mhm.
maintain ourselves. Then we move out, and you're still doing exercise for a couple years, just
Yes.
exercise, and
Hmm.
then you just do you plateau or something? Go, maybe I should look into calories. Do you remember like what made you decide to look?
I think it was living on my own and realizing I had to cook for myself more, and thinking more about like what my acting teacher had said, the comment about my weight, and thinking more of, all right, let's just try to start eating healthy and figure this out. And I think because I was on my own more and cooking for myself more, learning a bit more about how to read food labels, how to kind of portion out my foods and all of that, I think was when I started it, and it got solidified in the past 2, 3 years with actual counting the calories, actually marking it down and stuff. Because in the past 2, 3 years too, I got married a year ago and I wanted to lose weight for my wedding, so figuring that out as well. So
Right. Were you surprised the first time you measured out a serving of chips?
yes, I was like, oh my goodness, this
Yeah,
is like a hell of a lot smaller than I thought it was supposed to be. Oh my god, yeah.
that's a serving.
Like,
It's You could
9
totally
ounces
go
a
down.
serving? What? I was like, no. Even
So
now.
did you have a scale? Like, did you start losing weight once you started counting your calories and cooking for yourself? And if so, how much and how long did it take?
Yeah, I did start losing weight very slowly, but very surely. And it don't know how long it took per se. I would lose at least like 5 pounds every few months, so to speak. And I would definitely, for me, it was more about the measurements rather than the weight. Like I would remember measuring myself and I'd be like, okay, I'm down a few inches. Okay, this is working. Because I always kept remembering people would say, it's not always about your weight. If you lose inches, that's more important.
Mhm.
So that was a big thing. Seeing like my inches were getting smaller. I was losing weight in my thighs. I was losing weight in my waist. My arms were getting more toned, that kind of thing. So,
Right. I love and hate the whole losing inches thing
mm-hmm.
because it is very applicable for certain people, but it's mainly applicable for if you're already kind of healthy weight and you're toning and seeing
Right.
that happen, that little bubble of like, oh, I'm down a half pound of fat, like it might have
Mm-hmm.
gained quarter pound of muscle, another quarter pound of water. That composition in your body changing does happen. But I hate people saying I'm losing inches instead of weight and they're morbidly obese. No, when you are morbidly obese, the only thing you should be seeing is weight go down. Do not give me, oh no, I gained some muscle. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to get that weight down before you're in that game. I believe you being in that changing shape, but that happens at the end. It's not
Yes.
that you can't be gaining a little bit of muscle while you're going, but that if you are like 300, 400 pounds and you did not lose any weight in a month, don't tell me you gained muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Like it
Yes.
is a true discussion, but it's more relevant for at the end when you're
Yes.
actually seeing your shape kind of change. When you're really, really big, you're not seeing that. In the very beginning, it should be pounds coming off.
Yeah,
It
for
should be.
sure.
But at the end, or you know what, it's kind of funny. I'm saying at the end, you and I are pretty much the same. Our whole life has been at the end. Okay.
Yes.
And it's frustrating. It's frustrating as hell. And I would actually like to know if someone like you and I who have done this their whole lives have actually lost more weight over the span of their lives
Mm.
than someone who just did it once from a high weight down. Because I can't count the number of times I've lost 5 to 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Done it so many times.
Yeah, and for me too, the thing that definitely impacted my weight growing up, I actually have obsessive compulsive disorder. And because of that, dealing with the anxiety and the depression that comes with having that disease, my appetite completely dropped off during those times. I remember it really hitting me when I was 13, then again at 15, 17, like almost every 2 years until my adulthood before I actually got diagnosed with it. And during those times when I just was not eating because of how high the anxiety and depression was, that is when I lost the most weight. I remember losing God upwards of like 8 pounds in almost a month because I was not eating. And not because I didn't want to or I was trying to control my weight, but because I was so depressed and so anxious, eating actually was really, really hard to do. And then eventually as I got better, my weight started to get higher and in a healthy way and because I was eating more and all of that. But
Right.
I still don't know why I didn't click. Like you're losing weight because you're not eating, and you're gaining weight because you're eating more. I just don't know why I didn't click. Maybe because I had always been taught like athletes need to eat more, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you were talking about using the calories to understand your portions, but did you set yourself like calorie goals, like, hey, 1,500 calories today? Or was it just about making sure that every meal was correctly portioned?
It was more about portions when I started. Now it is more about the amount of calories that I eat and everything. And that I'm still trying to figure out too, because I do still want to lose weight. I do still want to be more more on a svelter side. But at the same time, it's just hard to figure out like portions and calories, all that at once. Totally lost my train of thought. Now I definitely think more about the amount of calories, but at first it was portions.
And what's your calorie goal for the day right now?
Right now, it's anywhere between 1,200 and 1,500.
And
So,
is it doable for you? Find you can do it without being hungry?
yeah, it's definitely more doable than I thought it was. There are some days when it is not always is doable. Like, for example, a couple days ago, about a week ago, I went home to be with my family because my dad unfortunately passed away.
Oh, sorry.
And yeah, and of course, we had a big celebration afterwards where we had like pizza and brownies and all kinds of desserts and all kinds of drinks. So on that day, I was like, screw it, I'm not worrying about calories and all of that. So it's difficult with big family gatherings like that, whether it's for something good or something bad.
Mhm.
But yeah, counting calories and everything on most days it is pretty easy. I just do pen and paper. I don't do my Fitness Pal. I don't do Noom. I don't do anything like that just because that gets very confusing for me. And I
Mhm.
also think it's just better just for me to write it down because I also write down reflections of, did this make me feel good? How do I feel emotionally? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I drinking enough water? So all of that, just writing it down, I think it's kind of my own way of doing it, but it
Yeah.
feels the most solid. It feels the most routine and regimented. And it's something I feel like I can consistently do.
Right. I really, I feel you. I don't have OCD. I have a whole bunch of other mental health problems, but I can see how like getting the proper routine and the proper tools, it's delicate because if you do too much, you're going to become obsessed with it and it's going to control you.
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
understand like I stopped, I used to wear a Garmin for running. Like this is before iPhones had that capability.
Mhm.
I'm old. Okay. So I used to wear a Garmin running watch and everywhere I went, but then I became obsessed with it. Then I had to
Mhm.
like get rid of it. So it's like getting routine is good. Obsession is bad. How do it like
Mhm.
get the routine
Yeah.
without the obsession?
And I totally get that because on my iPhone it has like how many steps you take, how many calories you burn, which is helpful, which was helpful I think during COVID when I was at home a
Hmm.
lot and just taking walks with my dad during that time because that was really the only exercise I was doing. And that was helpful in terms of figuring out, okay, I'm walking more, I'm burning these calories and all that. But then it gets more obsessive the more you do it and you're like, oh crap, I didn't burn enough calories today. What am I going to do? But not also realizing, well, Megan, you did a dance class today, you did yoga, you were active, you were burning calories,
Yeah.
but you didn't have your phone on you, so it's not going to register that, but you're still doing right things. But then you get obsessed with like, no, I need to do more, I need to do more of this, and
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
end up burning out because of
And
that.
then when you burn out, then you get the efforts and go, I'm doing nothing. Like you
Exactly.
don't want to get to that point where you give up everything because you've made it to be too much. Yeah,
Hmm.
like I always ask people about tracking. I can't fully track anymore. I used to, but I have to eyeball now because I will go down that rabbit hole. And I want to lose weight. I'm still on my weight loss journey.
Hmm.
I am almost at 20 pounds, almost at 20 pounds. I actually I hit all the way up to 156 and I am 137 right now. So I am very much on this journey with everyone. And it's actually kind of fun to make the content right now instead of being at my weight, like working towards it so I can talk about all of the problems that I'm having as well. Because routine is key, but obsession, if I go too far, I'm going to get the efforts
Yes.
and then it will all blow up. So now I want to know what you think of fat acceptance and what you thought when it first came out. So, because it started to become popular when you were at what place in your life? Were you already trying to lose weight, or just tell me your thoughts about around when you first saw fat acceptance, where you were, and all.
Yeah. So I distinctly remember being kind of introduced to it during my college years. I don't know if you know of this video, but Nicole Arbor posted the Dear Fat People
Yes,
video. Yeah,
yes.
and a lot of my friends had very strong negative reactions to that, and I remember watching it too and thinking, "This is really mean, this isn't cool." And thinking more about, like, I don't like it when people are mean to other people, I don't wanna be nasty and bitchy, so yeah, I'm not gonna be fat phobic, I'm gonna just try to love my body as it is. But I still, worked out, so did all of that and whatever. I remember it really, really hitting me though during COVID because what was happening was I was taking my first ever burlesque class, which was going to lead up to a Zoom performance. And I was super excited about it. But of course, during COVID, I wasn't doing my more regimented working out. I was snacking a lot more and I had gained more weight, especially in my midsection. And burlesque is you generally will get down to pasties and a G-string. So there's
Mhm.
not a lot left to the imagination. And I remember feeling very insecure, even though it was only going to be on Zoom, people were going to be watching, people were going to be seeing my body like this. And I remember thinking, I'm starting to feel really insecure about that. So I wanted to talk to the teacher about it, who was an overweight woman, who's a larger woman. She'll even say that. And I was going to ask her about how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the insecurity of that? Because she had been performing for a really long time. But I remember going to her Facebook page and seeing a lot of fat acceptance rhetoric, a lot of, if you say you feel fat, then that's problematic, and you're part of this huge problem that's going on during COVID, and how dare you say something like that? And I'm thinking like, oh, I'm actually not like super overweight or anything. She's going to think I'm part of the problem. She's going to think I'm a toxic, awful person. I can't say anything.
Right.
Oh my goodness. So I kept it to myself a lot. But then I also kind of went down the rabbit hole of seeing what is this movement actually about? What is this fat acceptance movement? What is their rhetoric? And that's when I found channels like Alan Roberts, Michelle McDaniel, people just talking about it, and also people like Tess Holliday talking about it, other people in the movement, and thinking like, this is a crazy, crazy world. Yeah. Um, I also remember during that time, I was part of a group called the Broadway Body Positivity Project, which at the time I did think was more body positivity oriented. At the time when it was first starting, I remember seeing stories of people of all shapes and sizes, all different backgrounds, sharing their insecurities. Like people have been telling me I'm too short to be a performer. People have said I'm too big, said I'm too tall. People have commented on the burn scars that I have. People have commented that I'm too dark or I'm too light or something. And I thought, this is good. This is all different kinds of people sharing their insecurities about body positivity and trying to come together to say, it doesn't matter if you look a certain way, you can still be a performer. At the time, I thought that was great. But over the years, it slowly started to become more and more fat acceptance oriented. Now, admittedly, I haven't really been on that Facebook group or on the Instagram for that. So I don't know too much about what their goal is, but it does seem to be more oriented towards that, which is fine. If you want to do that, fine, that's your choice. But for me, it's like, if that is more of what you're talking about, then are you really trying to strive for true body positivity, or is there something else going on here? Yeah. So, yeah.
So in your delicate state, you still didn't fall for it, like all of the science denial, but it seems like you got, I mean, I will say there are some positive things in body positivity. There
Oh,
are
yes,
like,
absolutely.
so you were behind the treat people well part,
Absolutely.
and
I don't
also,
think you should ever bully people. Should never
the
call.
theater to see your talent, not the body. I agree with that
Yeah.
as well, that you're not any less of an actor or singer.
Yeah, and I truly believe
Sorry.
anybody of any size can give a great performance, and then people should give people should give great performances. People should be cast in roles if they have the talent, if they have the ability, if they can really do a good job. I've seen people of all shapes and sizes be fantastic singers, actors,
Mhm.
dancers, and that's great. But the thing about being a performer too that I would stress is our job is exhausting. It's a very, very hard job to do. We're on our feet constantly. We work with very little sleep most of the time. We are doing long, long performances, 2, 3 hours plus. So while you don't necessarily have to be a certain shape by any means, you do have to be fit, so to speak. You have to take care of yourself. You have to eat fairly well. You have to work out. You have to have that stamina and that energy, regardless of what your ultimate shape is. And I wish there was more emphasis on that because I think sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle of all the messages we get as performers. Like, you don't necessarily have to look a certain way, but you do have to take care of yourself because if you want to be in it for the long haul, there's really no other way.
Right. And have you had to endure like long stints of performance?
Yes, absolutely.
What's the longest show
Um,
or whatever you had to do?
Yeah, the last show I was in, my character was really only involved in the first act, and then for act two, I was just kind of hanging out backstage doing nothing, but it was still long and all of that, and rehearsals were very, very long, very tedious and everything, but I was still on my feet a lot and dealing with that too. That this is where it gets tricky to eat well and work out because you're exhausted from performing and it's so much easier just to be like, oh, I'll order DoorDash tonight. I don't want to cook for myself, as opposed to being like, let's just cook a healthy meal. So that's always tricky because your schedule is just so all over the place, and then you rely on convenience.
With all that stress in a performance, how do you
Mhm.
maintain your weight for your costume? Because like I would imagine you get stressed and you get small and your costume is too big, or you get stressed and you eat too much and your costume gets too tight. Is there like, do you have to go for adjustments? Is it normal for everyone to stick their size for the whole whatever run of the show?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't done a show that's run any more than about 5 months. So I wouldn't know how it is in terms of being on Broadway or being on a national tour that could extend for years. But it is difficult during that time with gaining and losing weight. I do remember one time I was in a production of The Music Man, which is a very intense dance show, and I definitely lost weight during that because it's like every other number, you're dancing, you're doing ballet, you're doing chess. And I remember my costume having to be taken in a little bit for that. But I think taking in is a bit easier than letting out because you can just pin it, you can just sew it. In terms of people gaining weight, I'm not entirely sure how that works, but it is very difficult to maintain your weight. I think it's easier when you're doing a show, honestly, that is more dance heavy because then that becomes your workout and you also do more cross training stuff to supplement with that. So, like on days off, if you're not doing anything, maybe you go to a yoga class, maybe you go to a Pilates class and all of that. And because, you're not sleeping that much, you're stressed out, sometimes you just forget to eat too. So, there's that side of it. And you basically survive on coffee and water.
I certainly hope that that's not how you are surviving now.
Oh God, no, absolutely not.
Are you right now working on a production or what's your life like right now?
I'm auditioning for things right now because I finished the show that I was in back in May, and now it's more of just auditioning and see who wants to hire me. Um, but in that time, the thing that I've learned is when you have downtime, and you're going to have a lot of downtime as a performer, that is the time to kind of look at, okay, what can I work on in terms of my career? Is there dance technique I should work on? Is there singing technique? Should I take some more acting classes? And I always love taking that time to try out new exercise classes, new ways of movement. I started pole dancing last year, which is so much fun. I
That's
love
so
it.
fun.
It's a great workout too. So I've kept up with that. And that's also when I try to take as many dance classes as I can. Because when you're in a show, it's very, very hard to get the time off to do that and the energy as well. So maintaining that is more of what I do. During a show, I kind of let the show be my exercise while still keeping up basic things like trying to take walks more, trying to do yoga more, just trying to be active, but not as regimented. Regiment comes more during the downtime.
And is the environment of the shows that you've been on, has it all been that body positivity, like you said, that group that you were part of, or have you experienced some cattiness and people sizing each other up because of your body in theater?
Yeah, it's been kind of half and half, honestly. I remember more in community theater, people would make more comments about it because I think that comes from a lot of insecurity, people with unrealized dreams, unrealized hopes. Not that community theater is like a horrible, toxic place, but it's definitely more of people not having as professional of mindsets, not being more focused on this is more about what I want to do with me. It's more about like my dreams aren't realized, so I'm going to be nasty to people. I've got lots of stories about that. But the point is, in the more professional world, there is some more body positivity stuff going on. People will make comments every now and then. But in my experience, it's been more of a balance thing. People are more focused on just themselves, more focused on what they want to do. And I think the best people who are in this field won't comment on people's bodies, won't say anything. They might talk about like what they do for working out or what foods they like to eat, but beyond that, there's not too much of that, at least what I've gone through.
And what about GLP-1s? Is that part of the conversation? Do you know people that are on them? Would you consider doing it? Do you think that the having Ozempic in the marketplace for the past like 2 years has made a shift in what people are talking about and doing to their bodies?
Yeah, to be 100% honest, I haven't seen that as much in the theater world simply because so much of it is more about the exercise and the diet. I haven't really heard too much about people taking Ozempic or GLP-1s. I think some people in that community, I know when it comes to more actors and actresses in Hollywood, like I think there was a whole thing with the Wicked stars being on Ozempic or taking GLP-1, something like that. I think it does factor in terms of just the purely aesthetic value, and I think that it's not necessarily good or bad. I think it just boils down to how do you use it? How do you approach it? Are you mindful about it? Because I do think people definitely take it and their goal is just to be thin as a rail. People don't necessarily think about all the other consequences. But I don't know. I don't think I have as much information about it personally to have a firm, solid opinion about it.
It's very interesting seeing Ozempic and change everyone. Like I find it interesting to watch celebrities like Mindy Kaling, for example, who has been
Mm,
a little bit chubby for like
mm.
she made her fame. Like she was never fat, but just like a little bit
Yeah,
pudgy.
she's fuller figured.
Yeah, and now she's
Hmm.
like so skinny, and like every time I see her, I'm like, oh my God, that's Mindy Kaling. And I don't know, and this is my bias, and I have to get rid of it. I have to get rid of it. In my head, she's less funny. I'm like, but
Mm.
she's not. She's not less funny. I shouldn't. Now that she's thin, it's like I don't know. It, I shouldn't think she's going to be any less funny. I still love her, like all
Hmm.
of her
Yeah.
shows. And but now I see her skinny, and my head goes that she's less funny, but that shouldn't be it.
Hmm.
I don't know if we're going to see some major consequences about the GLP-1s in the future. The thing I don't like about it is the people that don't have an exit plan. I've interviewed various people that during this process that have been taking GLP-1s, and
Mhm.
some of them have an exit plan. I think that's good. They're using it to learn how to eat and eventually will stop taking it. But there are people that are just saying, "Oh, I'm just going to eat whatever I want, and this drug will tell me when to stop."
Hmm.
And if you
Yeah,
use it that way, you pick up whatever you want and it tells you to stop. Yes, you'll lose weight, but you go off it, you're gonna gain it all back and more.
exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing too, I think, is people don't always realize like this isn't a magic pill. It should help, it can help you for sure, but it's not like boom, you take it and all your troubles are over.
Yeah. The good thing about this medication, though, is I'm finding more and more fat activists dropping off because I
Yeah,
mean it. One thing that medication is proving: calories in, calories out. Like
for sure.
this drug didn't magically make you thin. What did it do? It made it so you can't eat as much. It was proving that science that the fat acceptance has been going on for years and years and years and years and years that it's not the food. It is the food. It's always been the food.
Mm,
All the other things are related to the food.
yes.
Everything related to the food.
Hmm.
Just like how I like to take accountability for myself, I cut myself slack. I give myself grace for breaking my ankle, falling into depression, but those were not the things that made me get fat.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like when my dad
Andy.
passed away, it was very hard for me to eat healthy. It was very hard for me to have my more consistent plans and stuff just because I was so sad and everything. And I definitely defaulted to lots of comfort food, lots of unhealthy foods, just getting DoorDash, getting Seamless. And I noticed a weight gain during that time, and I knew it was because you're not eating healthfully, you're
Mhm.
not being as mindful about that. And yes, it was extremely hard to deal with that. It still is extremely hard. My dad only passed away in February after dealing with acute myeloid leukemia, but I know like it's not I can't completely blame that on that. I have to deal with it. I have to accept that, and I have to acknowledge it's really really hard to go through that,
Mhm.
but I still have power here. I still can make a
Yes.
choice. I can still get back on the right track because also when I do that, it helps deal with all that grief and depression that I feel. And
Yeah,
also
that
my dad was a very healthy person, so I
he
think
got that.
I think in a way being more regimented is a good way to honor him too.
Yeah. Yeah, like I struggle with the giving myself grace and compassion part, and I'm working on that, like to not be so hard on myself. And but I have to always draw the line though of science, like what's fact. I am compassionate to the fact that I was very, very active and I break my ankle in two places and couldn't do anything. So of
Yeah.
course I fell into depression and things went bad there and I overate. And I'm trying to like give myself compassion for that, but I will never, ever, ever, ever say depression causes weight gain. No, depression made me sad. I ate candy. I got fat. The candy.
Exactly. Hmm.
Stuff of the eating. But at the same time, I don't want to be so hard on myself that like, no, you can't ever go to food for comfort. Like it happened. I was in a
Hmm.
place and to tell yourself it's okay that that happened. It's the grace that I'm working on.
Yes.
My
Same.
father passed away in 2021. I understand that grief. I
Mhm.
went through something similar at that time. But with me in sadness, I can go either way. Same thing you said, anxiety, can't eat. I lost 10 pounds right before my wedding. I was
Yeah.
116 pounds on my wedding day. That's not my goal weight, by the way. I was really, really skinny, but that was
Yeah.
because I couldn't eat.
Mhm.
Again, comes back to calories. So I have to give myself grace on both sides. Like I shouldn't have been that skinny. I never ever wanted that to be my weight, but I was stressed. And like
Yeah.
what you went through, food was difficult. It's like when you're stressed, for me, it's dry. It's like
Yeah.
eating cardboard. It just doesn't feel good. And then the stomach is all in knots. So I couldn't
Yeah.
keep it down. And then you get sick.
Exactly. That was exactly it for me. Because to a certain extent, I was glad that I did lose a little bit of weight through having the anxiety attached to the OCD. And there were some pictures I looked at back and I thought, oh, I look nice in these, but I would never recommend that to anyone dealing with food and anxiety and all of that. Just not eating, absolutely not. No. But yeah, it's very, very hard when you deal with that for sure.
Yes.
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
So, what is in the future for you? What is your, let me ask that again without a fart in my throat. So, what's in the future for you? What are your weight loss fitness goals? What can we expect to see in Megan in the next year?
So right now I weigh about 150 pounds and I would like to get down to maybe like the high 120s, the mid 130s, because that's where I feel like I'm the best in terms of feeling good about myself, the strongest, dancing my best, carrying myself the best, all of that. So my goal now is to keep up with the calorie tracking, is to keep up with being mindful about portions and all of that. It's also still to keep up my fitness, to keep trying to keep getting stronger and to be consistent with all of that, consistent with the food, consistent with the working out, because I definitely go through phases of I'm doing so good and then I don't feel like doing it, I'm just not going to do it. Oh wait, now I've gained all this weight, so I'm going to do it again, and just cycling, just finding more consistency and being more mindful about all of that too, and hopefully getting to a weight where I feel good about my body, I feel strong, I feel confident, and I feel like it's because I've put in the effort, I've been kind to myself, I've been mindful, and I've done everything on my own terms. I've done it the right way, so to speak.
So, we should have an interview in a year and see
Yeah,
if it all manifested.
absolutely.
Okay, so before we wrap this thing up, I would like to know if you have any advice for my viewers. It could be on weight loss, it could be on diet, it could be on fat acceptance, it could be on anything.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with weight loss, diet, and all that is what you said, is to just try to give yourself grace, try to be mindful about it. I know that's very, very hard for me because I'm super hard on myself when it all comes down to this. Be consistent, take accountability for what you do. If you mess up, admit it, but figure out a way to move past that. And remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's if you try to do it quickly, if you try to do it all at once, probably isn't going to be successful. But if you're mindful, if you're consistent, if you give yourself that time, you do see results and you feel better about yourself in all ways.
That's really good advice. Thanks, Megan, a
Mhm.
lot. Consistency is really, really, really important. And when you are like where you and I are, small women losing weight, it's going to be slow. And the
Yes.
patience for the
Yes.
slowness is really, really key, especially because it could be very common for a woman like me or you to not see a number move on the scale for a whole month. That doesn't mean you didn't
Absolutely.
lose any weight. It doesn't, but think about it. Think about when you have your period and you get bloated. How much weight is that? Water, salt, sodium. So
I
your
know.
fat in the month could be going down, but little water is playing a game with you, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes it
Yeah.
compensates, and then all of a sudden you'll step on the scale and it'll be 2 pounds down. And you go, oh my God, I lost 2 pounds. No, you
I know.
didn't. You didn't just lose 2 pounds then. You've been gradually losing those 2 pounds for a whole month. It just showed at the end
Yeah.
of the month. And this is another trap because sometimes people are working, working, working. They're going a whole month. I don't see a change. That's because fat is going down and water's playing a game with you. Okay.
Mhm.
So until the day that the water like actually is gone and you see that drop, you're going to think that the last thing you did was the miracle cure, but it wasn't. It was the whole month of effort. Maybe the day
Yes.
before you happen to go for a run and go, oh my God, I lost 2 pounds because I went for a run. No, you lost 2 pounds because you've been consistent for a month.
Yeah.
And the consistency is so important, and make a routine that you love.
Exactly. That's one thing I love about trying different fitness classes is I found so many other things I love, like pole dancing. I did trampoline class one time, which was super fun and really hard. I've done different Pilates classes, I've done different yoga classes, I've done rock climbing. Like, it's really fun just to experiment, to be willing to change, to be adaptable with this.
Yeah.
If something's not working, give yourself grace and figure out what else can I do. And just be kind to yourself and have a good support system. I have a wonderful husband that's incredibly supportive with me. We sometimes go to the gym together, we try out each other's workouts, and it's really fun. So,
Thanks, Megan, again for coming on the channel. And to you, the rest of my viewers, do you have a story that you'd like to share? If you do, send me a DM on Instagram at Mom That Dances, because I want to hear from you.